welcome to my channel, Andra Makes. I have a super duper fun, relatively quick, easy tutorial for you today. I'm going to show you how to make a bucket hat. And the pattern I'm going to be using is a free pattern. The size range goes from newborn to adult XL, and it is by Waves and Wild, and it's called the Sandcastle Bucket Hat. Even though I'm going to be using their pattern, I'm not going to be using their construction instructions. And I'll tell you why. I had no plans to even make a bucket hat, much less do a tutorial, but I saw my buddy Sarah from Naughty Gnome Crafts. She made one for her niece, and she posted a picture of it on Instagram, and I'm like, I have to have one. And they're reversible, so they are extremely versatile. Depending on your fabric, it can go anywhere from sporty to cute to chic to practical. Since it's reversible, one of your either the outer or the lining can be made from a waterproof fabric. So it could be a rain hat on one side and then a regular hat on the other. And as you can see, I have this version styled for fall, but it works for all seasons and all weather. And the reason I ended up doing a tutorial is when I made my hat following their instructions, I had in my mind the way it would be constructed. And I'm also a bag maker. I just don't make garments, I make bags and other things as well. But I have that construction method already in my head, so I was thinking before I made the pattern that it would be made the way that I end up making it and showing you how to make it. But it wasn't. Now the end results are the same. If you follow their instructions, you're going to get a fabulous hat. If you follow my instructions, you're going to get a fabulous hat. So I do recommend downloading the pattern and reading through their instructions and then watching my video all the way through and then deciding which method you think you would like best. And even though this pattern is specific to Waves and Wild Sandcastle Bucket Hat, I think the way I show you to do it, it will work for any hat pattern that has a brim and a side hat and a top. So any hat pattern you have that has those three sections, I think my method will work. There's nothing wrong with the Waves and Wild instructions. Like I said, you're going to get a fabulous hat regardless. But in my mind, and the way I think and construct things, the way I'm going to show you to do it is a lot easier and less frustrating and probably faster. And here's the first hat I made following their instructions. Now I made it from linen, both sides. And this is fabric I had left over from my accidental tie-dye dress I made. And if you haven't seen that, I'll put a link to it in the description box. But this obviously is great for summer. And then I have this fabric. This is the hat I'll be making in the tutorial. And this fabric is an upholstery fabric. I already had it in my stash. My sister-in-law gave it to me. And then you can see the lining. It's an upholstery fabric also. And I had that already in my stash. So depending on the fabric that you use will determine how your hat drapes, if it's floppier or more firm or whatever. And then when I made my prototype for the construction method that I'm getting ready to show you, I used this red corduroy fabric that I had in my stash, and also the lining fabric is a shower curtain that I had in my stash. And I've made a pair of pants from this and then a top from this. So, like I said, it's reversible. I hope you will give this a try. It is an amazing pattern. I love the style. Newborn through adult XL, different types of fabrics. You cannot go wrong. If you do end up making a hat or more than one using my tutorial, and you're on Instagram, please tag me. I would love to see it and share it. If you're not on Instagram, just leave me a comment that you made one using my tutorial. And if you did find this helpful and would like to leave me a little tip, I do have a Ko-fi account, and I will link that in the description box. You basically be buying me a virtual cup of coffee, but if you can't, no worries, no problem at all. Just me knowing that I helped you is enough. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section and I will try to help as best I can. So whatever pattern you're using, go ahead and have all your pieces cut out and interfaced and marked, following the directions from the specific pattern you're using. And let's get started on this fabulous hat. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time. Bye! Okay, the fabric I'm going to be using for my outer portion of my hat is this sort of burnt orange fabric. It's actually upholstery fabric. And here are the hat side pieces. You have two of those with a single notch at the top and a double notch at the bottom. Well, the pattern I'm using anyway, but yours may have different marks. And then the brim, there's two of those pieces with double notches up here. And then the hat top, and then this particular pattern has a notch here, and then just a little split here and a split here. Whatever pattern you're making, it's extremely important to make sure to cut out the notches or mark the dots or however they have theirs. So for this pattern, we're going to take the two hat side pieces and put them right sides together. This is interfacing. So right side to right side. And then you're going to sew down this side and sew down this side using whatever seam allowance your pattern calls for. And then while you're at your machine, do the same thing with the brim pieces. Put them right side together. Sew down this side and this side, using whatever seam allowance your pattern calls for. So go do that and then meet me back here, and then I'm going to show you another little trick that'll help so much. Okay, here's where I've sewn down the sides of the hat sides and the brim, and here's a trick that's going to help you a lot when you go put your hat together. This isn't in the instructions, but I like to do this because it helps a lot. Once you have those sewn, finger press your seam open. Give it a good finger press and then baste across the top and bottom of all the seams you just sewed. And I've already done it to the brim, and this is what it looks like. Here's the brim, and then you can see my basting stitches right there, top and bottom, and then on the other seam, top and bottom. And when you're basting, make sure you're basting within your seam allowance. For example, the seam allowance for this pattern is 3/8, so I basted at 1/4 to 1/8 of an inch. You don't want to baste at 3/8 or past. So do that to all 4 of the seams that you just sewed, and then meet me back here. Okay, turn your hat side pieces wrong side out, right side in, and you want the single notches at the top, and then the double notches will be at the bottom. And then take your top piece, flip it over, right side down, and put it inside your hat side pieces. Right side to right side. Here's the notch on the top hat piece, and here's the notch on the hat side piece. We're going to match those notches, clip it together. Then we're going to get the other notch from the top piece and match it to the notch from the hat side piece. Clip that together. Then we're going to find the slit on the top hat piece and match it to the side seam. Repeat the same thing for the other slit to the other side seam and clip all that around. Do that and meet me back here. Okay, this is what it should be looking like. Here's the top hat piece and then the hat side piece. Here are my notches matched and clipped. Same on the opposite side. and then the side seam matched with the slit in the top. And then the same thing on the other side. And then I've clipped it all the way around. So now you're going to take this to your machine and you're going to sew whatever seam allowance your pattern calls for around that circle. So do that and then meet me back here, back stitch at the beginning and end. Okay, here's what we just sewed together, the top to the hat side, and put it right side out on your table with the top of the hat facing down, like so. And if you want to trim your seam allowances, go ahead. I don't, because I like it for extra stability. But notice your notches are at the top, there and there. So place that piece like that, and then the brim that you've already sewn the sides and basted the 4 edges of the seams, put it right side down on your table. And then what we're going to do is pick the brim up and put it on top of what we just sewed together. Right sides together, like that. And here are the notches of the brim and then the notches of the side hat. Right side of the side hat, right side of the brim touching. So match your notches, clip those together, match your side seams, clip those together, notch, notch, side seam, clip those 4 areas first, and then continue clipping all the way around, right sides together. So do that and then meet me back here. Okay, here's what it looks like when you have all that done. Here's the brim, right sides together with the hat side. We matched our side seams and we matched our notches, and then we finished clipping all the way around. Now take this to your machine and sew around where you've clipped using whatever seam allowance your pattern calls for. And then meet me back here, back stitch at the beginning and end. Okay, turn it right side out and there is your hat outer complete. Wasn't that fun? I think this is such an enjoyable sew. Now, I want you to repeat the exact same steps that we just did for your lining. So repeat those exact steps for your lining pieces and then meet me back here. Okay, there's my lining, there's my outer. Now have them both right side up just like this, and what you're going to do is take your lining and put it right side together with your outer, matching your side seams. Just like that. Put your lining on top of your outer. Match up the seams on your brim, both brims, and then clip it or pin it all the way around the edge of your brim, and then meet me back here. Okay, we have our lining and our outer right sides together, and we've pinned or clipped around the outer edge of both brims, matching the side seams. Now you're going to sew all the way around, except you're going to leave about a 6 to 7 inch opening to be able to turn it right side out. And I do recommend not leaving an opening on your seams. So there's a seam and there's a seam, so maybe leave your opening like right here. Just try to avoid the seams in your opening, and you want to be sure that you backstitch at the beginning and end of your opening so the stitches will hold and not pop open when you go to turn it right side out. So sew around your brim, leave a 6 to 7 inch opening, and then meet me back here. Okay, we've got our outer and inner brims sewn together, and then here's my opening. Again, if you want to trim your seam allowances, go ahead, but do not trim the seam allowance where your opening is. It's very important. You're going to need that. So if you trim around your other seam allowances, do not trim this. You're going to need that to tuck that in. So once you have that done, reach inside your opening and gently turn your hat right side out. Do that and then meet me back here. Okay, once you have your hat turned right side out, you want to stick your hand or a point turner or a purple thing or whatever you have and kind of just finger press out the seams and get them all nice and smooth. And then once you have that done and are happy with it, you're going to find your opening and then just put your 2 pointer fingers in the opening and just gently kind of pull on it a little bit, not too hard, and then the seam allowances will naturally fall to the inside like that. So when they do that, just kind of pinch them and clip them together. Get them as even as you can. And then you can either hand sew this opening closed, or you can top stitch all around your brim using about an 1/8 to 1/4 inch seam allowance. And you can use contrasting thread or blending thread, whatever you want to do. Just keep in mind that if you want your bobbin thread to match your lining, that you may want to change it. And you can do as many rows of top stitching as you'd like. None, and hand sew it together, 1, or all the way up the brim if you'd like. So I'm going to top stitch mine by machine, and I will do that, and you choose your method and then meet me back here. Okay, here's my completed hat. I did 1 row of top stitching all the way around. There it is on the outer, and there it is on the inner. Super cute and fun. And then there's my other fabric if I want to reverse it. So that is the easy way to make a bucket hat.